Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? Welcome back to Patio Commentary. My name is Matt Jarbo, and I just watched Swordfish in 4K from Arrow Videos. This is one that I did an impulse buy about 24 hours ago. It arrived today, and I was like, you know what? Let's go. Let's dive into this movie that I will tell you guys has actually had a bit of an impact on my life in kind of a very odd way. And the story is longer and funnier than I'm going to tell it. But the long and short of it was back in May of 2001, I happened to be visiting the Santee Drive-In movie theater in Santee, California. Sadly, it's no longer there. During the double feature of The Mummy Returns and Swordfish. And it was during this viewing, this double feature, that I happened to witness a person with a laser pointer pointed at the screen. I told the manager. That manager then said, "Hey, are you looking for work?" And I was like, "As a matter of fact, I am." And he was like, "Why don't you come on down and fill out an application?" That guy's name is Bob, and Bob and I have been very good friends ever since. Going to see that double feature that night fundamentally changed the course of my life. I ended up working at that theater for 10 years. I was a manager. I put myself through film school. I was working there. And even after I went to LA and it didn't really work out, when I came back, I ended up back at that drive-in again. That place is my home away from home. And this movie specifically, is one of the key reasons why that is, just as fate would have it. And so I'll admit I haven't watched Swordfish in quite some time. I was, excited to dive back into this movie that I have fond memories of. Quite frankly, Halle Berry's boobs are a big part of that. But the whole hacker blowjob scene and whatever, like how this movie felt in so many ways was just very indicative of the times. I mean, this movie was shot and released pre 9/11. You know what I mean? So it had a different vibe to it. In fact, the movie, directed by Dominic Sena, who had previously just done Gone in 60 Seconds, it does have a very similar vibe to it. This one is produced by Joel Silver, who also did The Matrix. And I was watching this again tonight, and I'm like, man, this movie feels incredibly like The Matrix. I feel like the way it's shot, the color grading, the style, the soundtrack done by Paul Oakenfold, which is just bathed in early 2000s just techno. And I do happen to enjoy Paul Oakenfold. And there's a great interview with him actually on the 4K that I watched before sitting down to record this, just because I enjoy the guy's work. And this movie is just, it's dumb, it's big, it's fun, it's crazy, it's over the top, and it's more prescient now than I think ever, especially in regards to the core idea of Gabriel, this being John Travolta's bad guy character, more or less, using funds that they kind of steal in order to be more like a servant of the state through a senator, and they use that to go and basically like lay the hurt on people who hurt Americans. Like if you are a terrorist and you kill an American, they will come kill 100 more of your people in order to basically put out there that if you come after us, the hurt will be bad. The juice is not worth the squeeze. And that's the entire impetus of the story. And like I said, this is pre 9/11. Here we are over 20 years post 9/11. And I feel like this particular story, parts of it feel way more, kind of way more in line with where we are. But that being said, like, this is Hugh Jackman's first film following the success of, X-Men. Same with Halle Berry. They have really great chemistry together, and as Stanley and Ginger, very odd names. I don't quite know what exactly, Skip Woods was going for with the naming conventions in these films. Everyone had what could only be seen as largely generic names, which maybe kind of plays into the whole idea of the identity of the group overall. But then you've got like Don Cheadle, and he's just coming on in and he's just kicking ass in every scene that he is in. He is just oozing with like character and attitude, and like doesn't give a shit, will do what he needs to do. You got Vinnie Jones in this one. You've got Drea De Matteo makes an appearance, which I didn't know who she was at the time. Obviously Sopranos, and then was it Sons of Anarchy? And like she's married to a pornographer, and they are raising the daughter between her and Hugh Jackman. And because Hugh Jackman was like a master hacker, think Johnny Lee Miller in Hackers, but like grown up. It's more or less like the same kind of character. He can't touch a computer, but he wants to get his daughter back, and that's the whole thing that like Halle Berry and John Travolta largely kind of loom over his head, right? Like your daughter is working with, or is living with a pornographer who puts your ex-wife, her mother, in these films. Like this is a sleazy, grimy Southern California type thing. They even make the mention that they shoot a lot of the movies in Chatsworth, which yeah, in Chatsworth is which is the far like kind of like southwest side of the San Fernando Valley, is largely where they do shoot a lot of pornography. When I lived in LA, that was the whole thing with Chatsworth. If anyone was like, I'm going to Chatsworth, you kind of knew what they were up to. So the fact that they dropped that line in there made it just kind of feel a bit more authentic to the setting. This movie, it opens up with John Travolta talking about Dog Day Afternoon and how the ending could have been different if Al Pacino's character would have just done different things. Later on in the film, he mentions the ending of Sugarland Express, which was a Spielberg film starring Goldie Hawn, and then even at the end of the movie, he's like, audiences love happy endings. Like this movie, like the opening of this film, what's so funny about this is the opening of this movie made me feel like this is the natural progression of Chili Palmer's character from Get Shorty, because he's a mob enforcer. Okay, he's also a huge cinephile, and that's part of the whole joke of that film. And here this movie opens up with John Travolta going off on a very Quentin Tarantino inspired rant about the ending of Dog Day Afternoon and how it's not realistic enough to be effective. And I just thought that was so interesting and again wildly indicative of the times. The plot is super simple. Hugh Jackman, a hacker, has to, create this Hydra program to help steal $9.5 billion so that they can use it, to fund anti-terrorism efforts, which again, kind of plays up a lot of the American jingoism of the time. Well, pre 9/11. I have a feeling if this movie would have come out in 2002, it would have been America fuck yeah, like all the way. So I think that would have worked out quite well for it. One of the things though that I thought was really funny is in reading up, just quickly perusing the Wikipedia page after watching the movie, there was a criticisms over Halle Berry's boobs being in this movie, right? She has openly talked about how she was paid $500,000 on top of her $2 million contract in order to show off the jumblies. And she has even said she was paid $250,000 per tit. And the funny thing about that is some of the critics actually said that the scene was just like tacked on. It was kind of lazy. It was just gratuitous for no real reason. And I'm like, did you guys watch the whole movie? That whole thing was a setup, right? Because Halle Berry's character is working with Gabriel. She's not DEA. She's not a double agent. She is not sympathetic and attracted to Hugh Jackman's character. She is working him. She's a honeypot. And so by distracting him, by showing her his boobs the night after, she was basically groping his fucking heart on and talking about it, right? Like it's going to put him in a different place, put him in this place of vulnerability with her. Like, especially when he sees her wearing the wire after the whole confrontation with the FBI and everything else. And now he's got a reason to protect her, which is exactly what Gabriel's plan was. If necessary, you use Ginger as a pawn against Stanley. It's all right there. Like it's all right there. This isn't like subversive. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not hidden. It's literally all right there. And I was watching this and I'm just like chuckling and I'm giggling and I'm laughing and I'm like the whole thing with the 15 pounds of C4 and the 10 pounds of ball bearings and the opening of that movie when like they're trying to drag the hostage away and everyone's like, let her go, let her go. And the LAPD is just stupid because it's the LAPD. And then of course it just goes off and it just murks a whole bunch of cops and the woman, and then even later on at the end of the movie when like they're flying the bus, on the crane and it ends up like knocking Vinnie Jones out and then another guy falls and then they just explode in midair, taking out all of these windows with all these ball bearings. I mean, there's collateral damage in this movie that I don't think would see much of today. I mean, in a way that was very bombastic and very over the top and everything else. And, like I said, like I'm watching this movie and the action scenes are happening and I'm like, man, if like, is this a Joel Silver movie? Because it feels like a Joel Silver movie. Like if Joel Silver isn't involved in this, then I feel like somebody should sue on behalf of Joel Silver. And then at the very end, I see produced by Joel Silver, and I'm like, okay, I called it. I didn't even know. Oh man, it was so much fun. This is the kind of movie that's so indicative of its time. You know, it's got like a couple key action sequences, which is unlike a Joel Silver film, to be honest with you. It's got a techno thriller kind of approach to it, just in the sense of it being around hacking and, you know, this kind of seedy underbelly of like, you know, crime and gangsters and government and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And then what I really enjoyed about it though was Travolta just kind of playing it up, right? This is like, you know, not quite Broken Arrow Travolta, not even quite, you know, Castor Troy face off Travolta. This is a different kind of just like kind of like slick, very confident bad guy that he plays so well, you know. And he kind of did something similar a few years down the road when he played the bad guy in The Punisher in 2004. But this one is just another character that he plays that's kind of similar to the other bad guys, but again mixed with that like that Chili Palmer get shorty kind of approach. And I think that's one of the reasons why Gabriel to me is just an endearing character to look at. Like you would want there to be Swordfish too. And I think they kind of wanted it to be a franchise. So, you know, because at the end of this movie, they kind of set it up as like everybody gets away, they get the money, Hugh Jackman and the kid get away, they're living their lives, you know, they're going to be okay. And then it's like, if the movie would have done well enough, there's no reason why Warner Brothers would not have greenlit a sequel. This movie had about $100 million budget, and I think only did around like 140 million or something. And so it's like, you know, that wouldn't maybe have been the best, but at the time, you know, we're talking about DVD sales, cable now streaming. I think it's on HBO Max. And you know, so like I think overall the movie would have made money, but it doesn't need a sequel. This can be a one and done film, one to watch many times over for just like the vibe, because this is, you guys got to remember, is like, this movie also came out right before The Fast and the Furious. And if you were to watch Swordfish and The Fast and the Furious kind of back to back, you feel like you have been transported to 2001. And I don't know about you, maybe it's because I'm hitting middle age. I look back to when I was 19 and I'm like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, let me go find my copy of The Mummy Returns, you know, and watch all those movies again. I need to actually. Anyway, if you've never seen Swordfish, what are you doing getting this far in that review? I do appreciate it, though. What are your guys' thoughts on the movies? Please let me know. If there's movies you want me to check out that are similar in vein that you think I would like or you think I haven't seen, please let me know. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Thanks for listening to this episode of Patio Commentary, and have a great day.